Hello and welcome to Manic Movies, a series where we talk about the maddest of movies. I'm Ryanimaniac, and welcome back to The Road to the Endgame, where we're going to be taking a look at all the movies that are part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And this week we are taking a look at Iron Man 2, the sequel to the 2008 hit, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Mickey Rourke. Okay, so the plot of this film is it's set roughly a year after the events of the first Iron Man film. And, Tony has revealed his identity as Iron Man. He's a big celebrity in the world. Has brought world peace all around, and, the government wants him to turn over his tech so that they can properly use that to implement in weapon technology and helping the army and such. But Tony is constantly refusing to give over his suit because he feels like it's dangerous in the wrong hands. But all that changes when suddenly there's an enemy from Stark's past that wants to ruin Tony's legacy and pretty much bring the whole Stark industry down because his father was wronged by Tony's father, Howard. And yeah, that's what's going on here. So, as compared to the last Iron Man film, this is quite a bit of a downgrade. Which isn't to say this movie is awful, it's just, compared to the last one, it had set such a high bar, this one was just kind of meh by comparison. And I feel like the main issue with that is the fact that there's just way too much going on in this film. Like, for instance, there's the whole Mickey Rourke's character, Ivan Vanko, trying to get revenge for his father being wronged by Tony Stark's father, Howard, when it was more just his father wanted to get rich from one of their inventions. Then also you got this other guy, Justin Hammer, who's like a competitor to the Stark Industries and wants to, up Tony to, make more money and stuff. And you've also got this whole subplot about, the element in the arc reactor in Tony's chest keeping him alive is also slowly poisoning him due to the element used not being is enough to sustain him, but it's also slowly killing him. So he's trying to solve that. And then also, again, there's the fact the government's trying to get Tony's suit and such. And there's Pepper being made CEO of Stark Industries. Like, it's all over the place from what it wants to be. There's just way too much going on in this film, which is a big problem for just a lot of superhero films in general. There's a problem with the Spider-Man films. A lot of the 2000s films, there's just way too much going on that's hard to follow it all. And the stuff that they do put more focus on isn't as interesting. Like, the main villain of this, I want to say I actually liked, because his setup is interesting. That he's trying to avenge his father. Sure, his father might have been wrong, but he has a good enough motivation. But I feel like just the writing and the focus they put on him is so little compared to what it should have been, and what all the advertising makes it out to be. Like, all the trailers and such emphasize him as a big baddie, but in reality, I guess he is technically still a big baddie, but he's just barely focused on. He gets 2 fights with Tony in the whole movie, and other times it's just he's working for the Hammer Industries guy. So then he's played more of as the big baddie, which I don't feel was interesting. Because he's just like, I just want to beat Tony Stark. That's not good enough motivation. It's just not interesting. And, it's just mostly just Mickey Rourke sitting behind a computer in a lot of his scenes, or working on a drone, that sort of thing. I feel like if they had put more focus on him, like was originally intended in the film, then it would have been a lot stronger of a Marvel villain. Like, I remember hearing that the original version of the movie had him way more involved, but the studio didn't like that. They had different intentions for Whiplash, so that's led to a case of many of the actors in these films not caring for their experience just because Marvel Studios' ideas for the characters were different from what the actors themselves had. Aside from the writing, though, performances are very well. Again, Robert Downey Jr. back is still Tony Starking it up, Don Cheadle, good replacement for Terrence Howard, who left the movie, I believe, because he asked for too much money for the next one. I could be wrong. Don't quote me on that. Gwyneth Paltrow, okay. Again, she's She wasn't in this one as much as she was in the first one, so, but she did a decent enough job, I guess, being constantly concerned and dealing with Tony's antics. Justin Hammer, good performance, just like, I just don't feel like he should have been the focus as a villain. Mickey Rourke was excellent, he looked really good, but again, it's just they didn't put enough focus on him for me to really enjoy him as a character as much as I'd like to, because like he looks really cool. That first scene where he's walking out on the racetrack, he looks really cool. It's just they didn't focus on him enough. Sam Jackson back as Nick Fury, that's cool, you know, setting up more for stuff for Avengers. He has more of an active role in this one as opposed to the last film, which I guess for those who didn't see that after credits film scene in the first film was quite a bit confusing just to see him walking around in this one. Also the introduction of Scarlett Johansson as Natasha Romanoff, aka the Black Widow. She was pretty cool in this, so I do find it shocking how drastically different her look was in this film compared to some of the later films. But, yeah, she does give a good performance as this sort of double spy pretending to be sort of an assistant to Tony and Pepper, and then suddenly you figure, oh wait, she's working for S.H.I.E.L.D. Does a pretty good job. Action was pretty alright, I guess. It was a lot better action scenes, I guess, than the first one, but again, it's just the motivations weren't there enough for me to really be like, oh, that was amazing, you know? I want to say, as of right now, from what I remember of all the films, this was kind of the weakest of the Iron Man trilogy, but it was nice to see Tony's evolution of how the suits work and all evolve to being just the big scraps of metal from the cave in the first one, leading up to what he gets in Infinity War, being the liquid metal. It's cool seeing that evolution of the suits get better and better and better as the movies go on. But yeah, like I said, the only real thing that like really held this movie back is it was just way too much going on to really get into, to really grasp what was really happening. Like, it's not to say it's impossible, it's just there's just so much going on. It's hard. The movie just feels super unfocused, is what I mean to say, because it's constantly jumping from plot point to plot point, and never really giving you much of a chance to breathe. So I don't know if they brought just a little bit more focus in there. I feel like it could have been a lot better than it was. Stan Lee cameo in this was his appearance toward the beginning of the film, where Tony's trying to get through a crowd of fans, and he sees Stan in the crowd and mistakes him for Larry King. Nice to see that's still a running joke. I also do want to bring up the, well, now confirmed cameo of Peter Parker in the film, in which it's a small boy who tries to fight off one of the military drones at the end. He's wearing an Iron Man helmet and a little toy repulsor, in which Tony stops and, you know, saves him from the drone stuff, and which a lot of people back then theorized it was Peter Parker, but at that time there was no Peter Parker in the MCU, so nobody could know. And now, then years later, Tom Holland joined and pretty much made his personal confirmation that in fact was him. I don't think it was the actor Tom Holland, but the time frame sort of fits the films in a way. So yeah, overall this was an okay film. I'd rather watch this one over Incredible Hulk because, again, I do find it more memorable. So the performances are a lot better, and there's just a lot more going on in the film to really stick with you and make you think about. But again, like I said, there is still too much going on to the point where it's just so unfocused and you don't know really how to feel it. So I'm gonna give it a meh. It's a decent watch. It is really, again, more set up for Avengers than it is just showing a solo adventure, I guess. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. If you liked it, if you can feel free to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more of these movie reviews, that sort of thing. And also you can leave a comment, because there may be a movie you guys want me to look at that I might personally have something to say about. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. There is a certain Spidey film I might want to take a look at as a break between these MCU films. I don't know. We'll see where that leads. You know. Anyways, with all that being said, stay sane in the insane world, and I'll see you little loonies later.